Pittsburgh Steelers are in search of a wide receiver coach. Maybe that room got a little out of control last season under Frisman Jackson. What about Hines Ward taking his spot? And what about all these coaches that are still out there, big name coaches that didn't get a head coaching job this cycle? Welcome back to Mic Drop Sports, everybody. I'm Jason. Let's talk about all this stuff concerning coaches and concerning maybe a bad environment inside of that wide receiver room for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are not going to renew Frisman Jackson. They're going to let him go in coaching speak. That's fired, bro. And Frisman Jackson had some issues last year. They brought in Allen Robinson, a veteran, to try to secure that room a little bit. Deontay Johnson took a stand, tried to really be the veteran leader of that room. But that room, you could tell, had some distraction, had a little bit of a out-of-control type feel to it. So where do the Steelers turn? There's a lot of talk about a former Steeler, a potential Hall of Famer in my book, a guy that gave his heart and soul to this city, and that is Hines Ward. Should the Pittsburgh Steelers consider bringing a guy like Hines Ward in? Every time, guys, there is a coaching fire, let go, whatever you have with the Steelers, there's always considerations of bringing back a former Steeler, a guy that knows the culture, a guy that has been in a building. But could Hines Ward come in here and do that job? Hines Ward has paid his dues, guys. He's been in coach, I think, in the XFL, things of that nature. I know he's done internships with the Jets, etc. So he's really starting to cut his teeth inside of that coaching realm. And Hines Ward had a monster career, if you ask me. A guy that played hurt. A guy that cared about his teammates. He played more for others than he did himself. And it shined. So is Hines Ward a guy that you would want to have that chance inside of that wide receiver room to replace a guy like Frisman Jackson? Does Hines Ward have the ability to come in and control young superstars like George Pickens, Deontay Johnson? And what about Calvin Austin, a quiet guy that seems to be just left in the wash, a guy with a lot of talent that isn't getting used the way he probably should be? There was a couple big shining moments last year when he had that big play in Las Vegas from Kenny Pickett. Then in the playoffs, Mason Rudolph put his trust in him, and Calvin Austin was able to score a touchdown inside of a playoff game, which was a big move. But I think there's more to Calvin Austin than what they are doing with him. Yes, that was his first year, technically. Technically, that was his rookie year because of his injury in his official rookie season. But what do you do if you're the Steelers? You have 3 wide receivers right now that could potentially do good things. You have a nice mix. You have a super speedster in Calvin Austin, a monster route runner, one of the best in the NFL in Deontay Johnson, and a rising, budding superstar, if cultivated the correct way, in George Pickens. A guy that can do things all the others can't. But if you're the Steelers, rumor has it that you're looking for that third wide receiver. Maybe you don't trust Calvin Austin enough. Maybe he's just that one-trick pony, that speed guy that can only get you over the top. But I thought he showed in the playoff game that he can come under the middle, play underneath, do those drag routes and things of that nature to start to build on his route tree and his ability to do more for the Pittsburgh Steelers heading forward. So you have Calvin Austin, but everybody's saying let's go out and get that third wide receiver, including me. I think you need to add another wide out to that room. But the big question remains, how do you get that room to have that cohesive play for one another type attitude in a predominantly diva position across the NFL? If you're the Steelers, I think you need to bring in a guy that has a strong structure, a strong mind, a strong ability to be able to be cool with guys, to have those types of relationships that mean something, but yet be a disciplinarian and not allow the room to get out of control. You saw last year a lot of the times, guys, and I pointed it out here on the channel a million times. The receivers were running wrong routes. The receivers didn't understand things that were supposed to happen inside of a play call, and you could see it. And yes, some of that was the quarterback play. I get that. Mitchell Trubisky was horrible. Kenny Pickett, horrible a lot of the times. But Kenny Pickett was good late in games, good in the fourth quarter, to where he needed those receivers to be top shelf. And at times they were, but most of the time there was some serious confusion. That play in Cleveland where Kenny Pickett put it 20 yards up over the head of Deontay Johnson, I believe, that wasn't a coincidence. That wasn't a mistake on the quarterback. That was a wrong route run by Deontay Johnson. That was a inaccuracy in his ability to figure out what he was supposed to be doing. And he dropped the ball on that. Yes. A lot of these people got bailed out when you had guys like Ben Roethlisberger. Guys that played backyard type football. Yes, the scramble drill. You just get open and you figure out a way to get open, and that quarterback is going to find you down the field. They don't have that luxury right now. Maybe down the road they will. Maybe Kenny Pickett gets into that. Maybe Mason Rudolph comes back and gets into that type of mind frame that he can play a little bit of backyard football. But right now you have to be precise. You have to know what your job is on every play. Then you look at when you hired Arthur Smith, what are you going to be predominantly doing? You're going to be in the run game. Do the receivers understand their run concepts? They're blocking downfield. We saw receivers last year, George, Deontay, give up on blocks and simply just not do it. Who is going to come into that room and ensure that they do their job and go 100% every single play? I thought the wide receiver play became better down the stretch in those last 4 games under Mason Rudolph. You could tell that they really looked at Mason as a true leader, a guy that they could rely on, and they didn't get frustrated when he didn't get them the ball in certain situations. They understood what he was trying to do. Mason was able to come in there and be a real veteran leader for that ball club on offense. And you look at the Steelers wide receivers and you didn't see the temper tantrum being thrown. You didn't see the crazy antics and not blocking and missed assignments. You didn't see that. Those guys were really playing tough for Mason Rudolph and really studying, and you could tell that it was paying off. But the Steelers got a lot of things to look at this season. You're going to have a new offensive coordinator. You're not sure about the quarterback room. And then you still have that same group of wide receivers who, when things aren't going exactly the way they want, they crumble, they falter, they just blow up and self-implode. So if you're the Steelers, you really got to figure out who to bring in that room, guys. And is Hines Ward the guy that could do it? Why is there so much talk of that? I kind of think it's a little bit just, I don't think it should happen because I just don't think it's the right fit. I think Hines Ward being in that building, being a guy that's so respected inside of that building, I just think the dynamic would be a little bit off. I may be wrong, but I just don't think Hines Ward's the guy to go underneath Arthur Smith and do this. I think Arthur Smith needs to go outside of this building. Find somebody that's different. Find somebody that can come in that these receivers don't know, that don't have a relationship with, and kind of rebuild that room totally. Because I think Hines Ward has some relationships inside of that building still. Probably with that wide receiver room. Because why? He's a Steeler great. And I'm not saying Hines Ward would fail and that he can't do the job. That's not what I'm saying. I just think the dynamic would be a little bit off. And I'm not saying that they would disrespect Hines all the time, but it just seems to be out of sorts a little bit. And I think if the Steelers go outside, find a guy that can come in and restart fresh, that it would behoove of them to do that. That it would be in their best interest to do that. There's some guys out there, man. There are definitely some guys out there that are still available that you could come in or bring in a young guy and let them build that room up. That's the biggest thing, guys. And if you have a guy like George Pickens who could potentially be the league's best receiver, he really could. He has that ability. He has that athleticism. He has that potential, guys. He really does. And if you have that in a guy like George Pickens, you have the speed in a guy like Calvin Austin, then the precision route running like the guy like Deontay Johnson is. What do? You need a guy to come in there and take advantage of all of those skill sets and to be able to mesh them well together to where you can start to run some things that they didn't last year, and I didn't see them a lot. How about some bunch formations on the right or left with a Deontay Johnson, Calvin, and George, all bunched together? And then you're splitting them off into different routes. I think that adds a layer of confusion to the defense, and I didn't see that last year. I didn't see them utilizing their personnel in a way that could, in that way. I didn't see the mix of the tight end in the receivers. I just didn't see the eccentric type of play calls that you need in order to confuse an NFL defense. And you don't have to be super elaborate, but you have to create a layer of confusion. You can't just be vanilla. It's too easy to guard. And we saw that last year many, many times. I think if you utilize those guys and put them on the field together and allow those DBs to pick and choose who they're going to have to really cover, you could create some big time mismatches and big time problems. You could do some special things, guys. Hey, bring Calvin underneath on a drag route because they think he's going to go deep. He's the speedster. We allow George Pickens to take that middle route, and we allow Deontay to go out on that big-time bubble wheel route out the sideline for a big-time touchdown. Those types of things. Just simple little things like that. Simple adjustments that mean so much, that can do so much. You got the personnel on offense. I fully believe that in the skill players. I think you need to add one more. But I think you have it right now, except for the quarterback, because that is a big question. I really, really think that that's the biggest question of all this. But I think you need to get a guy in there for the wide receivers that really can rebuild this room, guys. It's a must. It is a definite must, and we got to have it, guys. All right, guys, let's keep on going here with the Tuesday edition here on Mike Drop Sports of the show. And we appreciate you guys stopping through. Don't forget to like the video. That helps so much. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. If you've watched this far, you might as well subscribe and join the community that's growing every day. And we have great commenters, great interactions together. People give us great thoughts all the time, every day. And it's really fun to interact with our community of fans. It is super, super awesome, guys. I appreciate it. Let's keep going here, guys, though, and we were talking about that coaching room of the wide receivers and who they should bring in. But let's move it over to maybe a little bit broader picture. And that is, there's some big name coaches that were head coaches that were let go. One that was an offensive coordinator that was let go for Cliff Kingsbury in Washington. You have Eric Bieniemy, Mike Vrabel, Bill Belichick, guys that have high pedigree inside of the NFL and that have been proven commodities. Now, if you're the Steelers and you're looking to continue to build this building, continue to add quality coaches to add to this game plan, to this scheme, why not go out and grab a guy like a Vrabel? Why not go out and grab a guy like Eric Bieniemy? I'm not on board with a guy like Bill Belichick. I wouldn't do that. I think Bill is too much of a force inside a building. So let's just ditch Bill off. I think he's about done in the NFL right now until a team gets truly desperate. Maybe next season, maybe you see the return of Bill Belichick. But I don't foresee it this season. I just think his personality is too big to be on anyone's staff, but I may be wrong. I just still feel like his shadow would even loom large over a guy like Mike Tomlin, who has no worry in the world about his job. His job is secure for as long as he wants it, according to the Rooneys and Mike. So I don't think Mike should ever have that feeling that he would get fired, but if you bring in a guy with the presence of Bill Belichick, that could create an issue, I think, down the road, and I think that that's not probably the best situation the Steelers would want to be in. I think the best look would be hiring a guy like Bieniemy. I think Bieniemy has had some issues. I think there's something going on, the reason why people aren't giving him that big chance. There's something. Maybe he doesn't interview well, something. There's something going on. But why not bring in Bieniemy, who studied under Andy Reid, offensive coordinator for him for many seasons? Why not let him come in? And if Bieniemy's willing, let him sit with Mike Tomlin. Be an assistant to Mike Tomlin in some way, like an offensive analyst or something like that. Be kind of Mike Tomlin's right-hand man. Let Mike Tomlin cultivate Bieniemy and maybe progress his career. Maybe that might mean good things for him. So I would say a Bieniemy would be like a guy that I would be looking at for sure. What about Vrabel, a guy that has Pittsburgh connections? I think that could work too. So there are some big-name guys out there, guys. Big-name guys that could come in and potentially do some things for your Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's look at them, if you're the Steelers, and let's maybe consider adding to this staff, because I think it could spell only good things if you add a guy that has a ton of experience. I think it could just be special. I think you could add a dynamic, a layer that you don't have right now, and that's awesome. So if you're the Steelers, I think that that's what you need to maybe look at. I think you need to really consider doing something like that. I don't know what you guys think, so put it in the comments. A Vrabel, a Bieniemy, a Belichick, any of those guys that are special. Who do you guys think should be that next wide receiver coach. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think it should be a guy like Hines Ward? Do you think there's another candidate out there that could really come in and rebuild this room? What are your thoughts, guys? Again, I want to remind you about what we do here on Mic Drop Sports. We're giving you just all the information we see. Nothing we say usually, unless I tell you specifically, is what I want to do. Usually, it's if I give you an idea, it's not like a definitive thing. That's not what I'm saying I even agree with. I'm just trying to spread and give you guys all the information that I can. And I know sometimes guys think I'm saying like I agree with this situation or I want this to happen. That's not technically the case unless I say specifically, hey guys, I think this should happen. Like right now, I think the Steelers, in what we're talking about, should bring in a fresh face for that wide receiver room. I don't think a Hines Ward would work. That's something that, yes, I say that that's what should happen. But other than that, I'm just giving you guys as much information as I possibly can all the time because I want you guys to have all the info. I want you guys to be well-versed in what is going on inside of the NFL, inside of the Steelers, inside of that building, just particularly the Steelers mostly. So I'm trying to give it all to you. All the rumors, all the news, anything that I can find on the Steelers that I see, I want to give to you because I want you to know that. And I want you to be able to come here to Mic Drop Sports and understand everything of what's going on with your football team and be a well-versed fan. And when you're having casual conversation with your friends or other fans, you have all the information. You're armed with that information and you can have a great conversation. So that's just my goal. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but that's my goal. I want to give you guys and arm you guys with everything that I can possibly arm you with. But again, I appreciate you all for stopping through. Put in the comments what you guys think of all this going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to come out with a live show tonight or tomorrow. I'm going to see about Sean, what he's going to be into. Maybe we'll do tonight and tomorrow. I don't have anything to do this evening. So maybe I'll do a live show tonight and then maybe come on tomorrow, Wednesday, and do our normal Wednesday edition with our boy Sean. Maybe we'll see if he's available. I'm not sure what his schedule is. So look forward to a couple live shows here, probably back to back. We'll do that. Tonight I will jump on we'll say about 6 o'clock. I will for sure jump on and give you guys a live show and a chance to sound off about all this coaching stuff. And there's also something else I wanted to talk about. You keep hearing the return of Lev Bell. We'll talk about that. I don't think it will happen, but we hear it all the time. So maybe we'll talk about that too tonight. So there's some things going on. So again, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for coming back to the Tuesday edition here on Mic Drop Sports. And I'm Jason. Until next time, peace.